Imagine an empire that ruled vast mountain ranges, organizing millions without ink and paper. Instead, they used knots. These are the quipu quipu, also spelled kipu kipu, the sophisticated record-keeping devices of the ancient Andes, most notably used by the powerful Inca Empire. Fashioned from spun and plied cords of cotton or camelid fibers like llama or alpaca wool, a quipu is a central main cord with numerous pendant cords attached. Additional cords, called subsidiary cords, might hang from the pendants, creating a complex network of knotted information. They weren't just simple counting tools. These intricate assemblies held categorized data based on color, the order of the cords, and critically, the knots tied into them. The genius of the quipu system lies in its numeral representation, primarily using a base-10 positional system. Different types of knots signify digits, and their placement along the cord denotes their power of 10. Knots tied higher up represent larger place values like hundreds or thousands, while knots lower down signify tens and ones. This is similar in principle to how we understand numbers based on the position of digits on a page. There are three main types of knots that encode numerical values. Simple overhand knots are used for digits in the tens position and higher. For example, 4 simple knots in a cluster on a cord's tens level represent the number 40. The units, or ones position, is handled differently. Digits from 2 through 9 are represented by a long knot, which is essentially an overhand knot with multiple turns. A long knot with 4 turns stands for the digit 4 in the ones place. The digit 1 in the ones position is uniquely marked by a figure-8 knot. What about 0? 0 is represented by the simple absence of a knot in the correct position along the cord. Let's look at a few examples to make this clearer. To record the number 731, a cord would have a cluster of 7 simple knots in the hundreds position, 3 simple knots in the tens position, and a figure-8 knot in the ones position. The number 804 would show 8 simple knots in the hundreds position, no knots in the tens position, representing 0, and a long knot with 4 turns in the ones position. For 1493, you would see 1 simple knot, or sometimes a variation for 1 in the thousands place, 4 simple knots, 9 simple knots, and finally, a long knot with 3 turns. The distinct way the ones position is marked makes it relatively easy to determine where one number ends and another might begin on a single chord. Mastering the creation and interpretation of quipus was the job of highly trained specialists known as quipukameoks, kipiookamayoks. These individuals were essentially the accountants and record keepers of the Inca state. They could perform basic arithmetic calculations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division directly using the knotted cords. The Spanish chroniclers marveled at their skills, with one even claiming quipukameoks could read the quipus with their eyes closed. This suggests a level of tactile understanding, perhaps even a mnemonic system beyond just the visual knots. The Inca Empire relied heavily on quipus for managing its vast, complex society. They were indispensable tools for administering the mandatory labor tax known as mita. They kept precise census records that counted everyone from infants to the elderly. They also maintained calendrical information for agricultural and ritual purposes, and even organized the military. While their primary administrative function for numerical data is well established, some evidence suggests they might have also recorded simple historical narratives or annals, annales, structured in a stereotyped way. This moves beyond mere numbers into the realm of structured information, perhaps even narrative. Beyond purely numerical accounts, a major mystery surrounds the extent to which quipus encoded non-numeric information. Certain features, like the color of the cords, the type of fiber, the way cords are attached to the main string, and specific knot variations, like the EE knot, clearly carried meaning that wasn't just a number. Researchers like Gary Urton propose the system might have used a binary code, perhaps capable of representing phonological sounds or logographic symbols. This challenges the long-held assumption that quipus were not a form of writing. The potential link identified between a Spanish document and 6 quipus from the Santa Valley is particularly exciting, offering a potential Rosetta Stone moment. Recent studies are exploring how cord attachments might encode social structures. The debate over quipus' capacity for non-numeric information pits 2 main theories against each other. The idea that they are semasiographic, versus potentially glottographic. Frank Salomon argues that quipus are a semasiographic language, like musical notation or mathematical symbols, conveying information directly without referencing specific spoken language sounds. Sabine Hyland, however, claims to have made phonetic decipherments in colonial-era quipus, suggesting they could represent information phonetically, at least in later periods, potentially influenced by European writing. While Hyland's specific claims regarding colonial quipus are debated, the possibility that some quipus moved beyond pure numbers is a captivating area of research. The history of quipu technology stretches back long before the Inca. Possible precursors, sometimes called proto-quipus, have been claimed from the late preceramic site of Carol Caral, dating back thousands of years, though this is still under evaluation. More solid evidence appears during the Middle Horizon, around 600 to 1000 CE, with the Wari Empire. Their quipus differ slightly from the Inca ones and are less understood. It was the Inca, however, from the 13th to 16th centuries, who truly integrated quipus into the fabric of their vast administration. They relied on them extensively to manage their empire across the Andes until the arrival of the Spanish. The Spanish conquest in 1532 brought European writing systems and a new administration that gradually replaced the quipu. Tragically, many quipus were deliberately destroyed by Spanish officials and priests, who viewed them as idolatrous objects. They saw them as tools used to record offerings to non-Christian deities, hindering religious conversion. This act of destruction makes the surviving quipus even more precious. However, some Spaniards recognized the system's utility, and there were even attempts to adapt quipu use for colonial administration and ecclesiastical purposes. This demonstrates their inherent value as information-carrying devices, even to the conquerors. Remarkably, quipus haven't entirely disappeared from the Andes. In a few contemporary Andean villages, like Tupicacha, Tupiciocha, and San Cristobal de Rapaz, San Cristobal de Rapaz, in Peru, quipus continue to play a role. However, they have transformed from administrative tools to important ritual items. They are considered communal patrimony, powerful symbols of heritage and connection to the past. In Rapaz, a quipu is kept in a ceremonial building and displayed during important community events, embodying the moral and political authority of ancestors, even though modern villagers can no longer read the ancient knots. This enduring presence underscores their deep cultural significance. Investigating these knotted records is a complex task for archaeologists, anthropologists, and mathematicians. Early work by pioneers like Leslie Leland Locke established the numerical basis in the early 20th century. Later, Marcia and Robert Asher conducted extensive analysis, demonstrating that most surviving quipus contain numerical data. Today, projects like the Quipu Database Project at Harvard, led by Gary Urton, painstakingly document and analyze hundreds of known quipus. These are housed in museums and private collections around the world. This work involves detailed recording of knot types, positions, colors, and chord structures, seeking patterns and correlations. Preserving quipus is a significant challenge. They are made from organic fibers like cotton or wool. This makes them susceptible to degradation over time from environmental factors like light, humidity, and temperature. Pests, mold, and even past handling can cause damage. Museums and collections employ strict environmental controls, keeping quipus in cool, dry, dark, and stable conditions, often stored horizontally on special boards. Conservators use careful techniques, sometimes even mending breaks with locally sourced, naturally colored fibers. This is done to prevent further deterioration, ensuring these vital records survive for future study. The Quipu Database Project, along with independent researchers, continues the slow, meticulous process of decipherment. Finding patterns, correlating quipu data with surviving Spanish colonial documents, and analyzing the structure of the chords are all pieces of the puzzle. While the numerical code is largely cracked, unlocking the full extent of the information remains a great challenge. This includes unlocking the non-numeric data and the potential for narrative or historical records. It remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of ancient history. Each quipu holds potential clues, waiting for dedicated researchers to untangle their secrets. They offer a unique window into a civilization that recorded its world in knots.